All right, welcome to the Fighting Dirty. Oh, fuck. Hang on. All right, I need to restart here. The Fighting Dirty Gaming Podcast. I totally forgot what we were going to call it. All right. Let me put this here.
You just call it the Fighting Dirty Podcast. Whatever you want to call it.
Well, we've been calling it that, so. All right, here we go. We'll start over. All right, and welcome to the Fighting Dirty Gaming Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about some pandemic, some games shooting up the Board Game Geek ladder, some mechs and minions, and a bunch of Fantasy Flight stuff. My name's Gary, and with me is Matt.
What up?
How's it going today, fella?
Oh, it's going pretty good, man. Been busy with school and work, and other than that, it was just a pretty complete day waiting for your ass to get done playing a video game so I could do this podcast. So, it's good to be here with you.
Yep, you too. I had prior obligations of League of Legends to play, so yeah, sorry about that.
I assumed as much, or you fell asleep. I didn't know. I didn't know which one it was, but either way, it was all good, man. So
you were right on the button. It was one or the other for sure. So that's good. So I know you've been pretty busy these past couple weeks. We haven't really got to talk with each other. We haven't actually got to podcast in a while, and you've been up to some stuff though. So what's been going on with you during these past couple weeks?
Well, it was the end of summer, and I really had planned a lot of different events to go to. So I went to a bunch of concerts in a very short amount of time. Live music, it's a passion of mine. I love going. I love drinking. I love sitting outside with friends, but I also like going to indoor clubs and things like that. So I went to several concerts. I went to Explosions in the Sky, which I know you're a fan of, and I'm also a big fan of, and I got some records while I was there because I've been collecting records, so that's...
Yeah, you got me into them big time. I love that band.
Yeah. And
they're the band that played the intro to Friday Night Lights, one of my favorite shows I've tried to get you to watch.
I've seen the movie and I read the book. I just never got into the show, and yeah, I love that band. So I went with my buddy Timmy, who will be a reoccurring character throughout these stories here. So we went and saw Explosions in the Sky, and then we also went and saw Slightly Stupid. This time I went with my sister and my buddy Jim and a girl that he was seeing, and we had a great time, and all these are in Chicago. And then a few days later, we went to Riot Fest, and, just for a little... People may not know, Riot Fest is a pretty good punk metal festival that happens in Chicago, Denver, and sometimes in Toronto every year. And this year is headlined by the Misfits with Danzig. So
what?
I know, right? So Misfits with Danzig, Fat Danzig, and it was amazing.
How dare you?
I couldn't even hear him. The PA was blown. His voice was blown. He was complaining about the monitors. It was rough, but the crowd knew the song, so the crowd was singing everything. It was great. It was a great time. I saw Rob Zombie. I saw the Deftones. I saw Andrew WK. Thursday, Under Oath. I saw all these bands in one day. And then a couple days later, I went to what's called the Metal Mayhem show, and that was a show that we went to years ago. As you recall, Cannibal Corpse, Whitechapel,
Kill Switch Engage, all their remains, Job for a Cowboy. It was one of my favorite shows we've ever went to.
Okay, so this was the iteration, 10 years later probably. I don't know. I don't even want to think about it. But it was not that long. It was just a night show in Fort Wayne this time in an indoor arena. And this is just 2 days after Riot Fest. And I swear afterwards, I was like, I should wear earplugs. Like, I think I'm starting to experience some hearing loss. And
I've started doing that from a long time ago. Like, you and I were in a band a long time ago, and we were bad about not wearing earplugs. I think I started. I went to Chicago to see Kill Switch Engage, and I've started wearing earplugs from now. It's not worth going a whole day just with your ears ringing the entire day.
Well, I should have done that. But so I go, and here we go: Kill Switch Engage, and Avenged Sevenfold, and Volbeat, and I get there. And Volbeat's going on. I was like, cool, Kill Switch Engage is coming up. Well, then Avenged Sevenfold comes on, and I start texting you, and I was like, I think I missed the Kill Switch somehow. The ticket said 7, and so there was 4 bands. Doors open at 7, 4 bands. I got there at 7:30, in the door with a beer in my hand at 7:30, and guess what? I missed the first 2 bands, and it was a great show. the other bands are fine. My ears were straight rocked. I was just like, because this time it was all indoor and it was metal and it was loud. And I mean, the double bass made your chest pump kind of.
Yeah.
And I was 20 feet from the stage. Like, it was awesome. Okay. So like, but
except you missed Kill Switch.
But I missed Kill Switch.
How did that happen?
I don't know. I told you that I read the tickets. 7. So the doors. Yeah. They say I got hornswoggled. So, back to Riot Fest, though, because I want to talk about Timmy. We see Andrew WK, first band of the day that we watch, and I'm with a big group of people, 10, 12 people, and Timmy goes off to get a beer, and I was kind of like, I'll be right behind you. Well, I wasn't. And then I finally get up to the beer line, and where do I see Timmy? He's getting carted out by the paramedics.
Why? Why? What happened?
We hadn't been there we had got there and Andrew WK started. We were there for 45 minutes. Goes to the beer line. We had one beer upon entering, watched one band, and then the paramedics took him out, and I was just like, oh no, what's going on? And he was like just severely dehydrated and like just like fell out. Like started to like black out in the beer line. It was just funny because we're all in line. It's like, where's Timmy? Where's Timmy? And Cheyenne's like, oh,
Timmy's dead.
Like, she goes, there's Timmy. And I was like, we gotta get out of the beer line. Like,
damn.
And then he gave us the thumbs up and all that. And he was back on his feet. But by the end of the night, by the time the Misfits played, he was sitting outside the venue and was just like so ready to go home. So he's a trooper. My buddy Timmy, he went to a bunch of concerts with me and he wrote it out. So props to Timmy.
Yeah, poor guy. Well, I'm glad he's all right. I haven't seen him in a long time, but I'm glad that nothing serious came of it. Shit.
Yeah. And so the only other thing that I really did is I went to Wisconsin for a couple days for work, and that was fun because I got to play a game with my buddy Raj, the Raja.
And we'll be talking about that in a little bit. And it was a good one. What was it?
We played. We got to play a game at the hotel of Pandemic, Reign of Cthulhu, and I can't wait to tell you all about it later on.
Great. We're going to review that today. So, me personally, I haven't really been doing much. Just a lot of coaching softball. My daughter's team, she's on a travel team. It takes up a lot of time. I haven't got to game. However, this past week, we finally did what we said we were going to do. We ordered Pandemic Legacy and Cosmic Encounters, and I cannot wait to play both of them. I'm so excited, man. I cannot wait to play this Saturday. I think we're going to try and get at least half of it done, right?
That's the plan. I was saying, how early do you want to start? Because that's when I'll be there. So got it on my calendar, Pandemic Legacy. I have a midterm due on the 10th, which means I got to work ahead. So if I work ahead, then I get to play on Saturday. So I'll be there on Saturday. You just set the time, and we will go through as much as possible. Yeah,
we're gonna at least try to get through half of it. I mean, if we do, we do. If we don't, we don't. We just do what we can. But I'm so happy to get this started because by this time, people are releasing spoiler podcasts and videos and stuff, reviewing it, and that's something that I actually would like to do once we play through it. Really sit down and have an entire podcast about our thoughts on the game, what happened. I'm so excited because everyone who talks about this game says the twists and turns in the game are so amazing that they don't want to spoil anything for anyone, and I've not had anything spoiled.
God, that would drive me crazy.
Yeah, it's killing me because I love Pandemic, and I'm super jealous that you got to play Cthulhu Reign, the new Pandemic, and this I've been looking forward to for so long that I'm so excited, man. I know I keep saying that, but this is what I've been looking forward to playing.
Well, Pandemic's one of those games that we've played a lot. Well, I'd say a fair amount together, but we've also played a ton separately. So it's just a game that we know inside and out. And even when you think you know the game, it's so well planned out and designed that it still just kicks your ass. So I love everything about Pandemic.
Me too. It's probably one of those games that. What is that one game that we used to play with Bill and Chuck at Gen Con? That hard game, Shadows over Camelot. That was probably the first game that I was like, wow, this game's so hard to beat. And then Pandemic on the hard mode is right up there with you're probably not going to win, but when you do, it's so satisfying to play and beat that game. So we are going to definitely play through that Saturday. Moving on along, we have some news about Fantasy Flight. This is something that was rumored at Gen Con. They are divorcing with Games Workshop, and it is affecting a lot of the games that Fantasy Flight puts out. Most importantly to me personally is Chaos in the Old World and Forbidden Stars. Those are the two games that I really, really am sad to see go.
I mean, it's like Fantasy Flight's only in the business of getting like the IPs that belong to movies.
Currently, yeah, I agree.
They're like that's where they've shifted their focus, and this was one of those things they had dipped in. I mean, I dipped in loosely, but they dove into the Warhammer world pretty heavily, and these games just happen to be great games. And I haven't played Warhammer Conquest, but I've heard really good things. But just to lose the ability to, they can't do anything Warhammer anymore. Now, on the other side, though, like the Games Workshop, they don't get to, they're not going to be stealing all the Fantasy Flight mechanics. Like, you know what I mean? The Chaos in the Old World's the shit because of the mechanic of the game. You know what I mean? They could have named those guys anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, because I played it, and I don't know. Seriously, so far from the Warhammer world, never got into it, so I don't know much about it, so I'm not a great judge of how awesome it is. And when it's so popular, it has to be really good, right? But that's a
good point, because I'm the same way. I don't know anything about Warhammer, and that Chaos in the Old World is probably a top 3 game for me. I remember reading this book. I remember reading the rule, and I was just like, oh my god, this game is amazing. And I hadn't even played it. And I remember I texted you, I was like, dude, we have to play this game. We have to play this game. I cannot wait to play this game. And I love this game so much, I painted every single mini in the game. And I'm just so sad that this game is going to be out of print, and people aren't going to be able to get it anymore. It's going to be one of those games that the price is going to be driven up. You're going to get, secondhand through auctions and eBay and stuff. And Forbidden Stars has already been bought up, all the new stuff on all like cool stuff, miniature market, things like that. So the price is out of control already, but it'll come down. It'll be one of those games like StarCraft, man, that's out of print, and it's going to be one of those games where you'll get at auction and people will be like, wow, nice buy, Forbidden Stars, wow, things like that. And what sucks is that game had an expansion planned, and they were working on it, and it totally got canned.
Oh, wow. Well, if you want a copy, I'm pretty sure I can get a copy, so...
Oh, at your game store? Do they have it in stock or something?
I believe they do.
If you want, pick that up, and I will definitely buy it from you for sure. I want to have that game in my collection before it's $150 for sure.
I'll swing by the shop tomorrow, man.
So I didn't mean to cut you off. What else did you have to say?
No, I mean that was really the nuts and bolts of about the whole thing. It's like, yeah, I've heard Forbidden Stars is awesome. We need to get it. We need to play it. And maybe that will make me go get a little interest into the Warhammer world. There's a lot of stuff out there for it. So it seems like a really good license to have. And it sucks that Fantasy Flight's lost it, because now they're basically in the Game of Thrones, Star Wars market. What else?
Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
Doom. It's really unfortunate, because I thought it was a very good symbiotic relationship, because Games Workshop doesn't make the best of games. Fantasy Flight, to me personally, makes some of the best games. So Warhammer's a cool world. I like the Space Marines, the monsters, and the gods and stuff like that. So I just thought it was a great relationship. But apparently, what I heard was that Games Workshop is a big miniature company, and they didn't like that Fantasy Flight was putting out a lot of miniature games like that, X-Wing game, things like that. It was kind of, they believed, eating into their sales, so it wasn't their time to continue this relationship. But it's super unfortunate.
They also had the Fury of Dracula.
Yeah, I want to play that. I've not played that.
And I've not played it either, but that's a game I would like to play. And...
Heresy?
And it's like out of, it's not available. Yeah, Horus Heresy. Guess we should have bought
Talisman.
it.
Remember Talisman?
I do remember Talisman. That's Hey, man, just quickly on Talisman, that was a game that we played, and that was a game... Oh gosh, I mean, this is mid '90s, mid to late '90s. We were probably sophomores in high school or juniors, and that was one of those first games I played outside.
That wasn't Monopoly.
That wasn't Monopoly, or I'd played Risk at that point, and then we played that, which is kind of Monopoly-esque now that I think about it.
It's very Monopoly-esque. But I remember at one time that I thought Talisman was one of the greatest board games ever. I will admit that.
Okay, well, that's all good. But I remember playing it and it being like, whoa, what are these kinds of games? And that's when I was first meeting, going to, we went to Mike's house and played a big game of Risk, Now, I would never sit down and really play a big game of Risk. Like, I'd play, the expedited objective version. You can play in 45 minutes to an hour or whatever, Like, we were playing the game of Risk took forever, but then from there we played some Talisman and we played some Guillotine, and then, before you know it, then you're getting immersed into everything, and, so that's what I think about Talisman, and the whole line, these are a good little chunk of games that they're going to miss in the Fantasy Flight
for sure
library, and so it sucks. If I can find a copy of Chaos in the Old World in an auction, I'm buying it, same with Forbidden Stars.
Yep. So another big thing in Board Game Geek news is Scythe has shot up the rankings. It actually just passed Blood Rage and a couple other games, and I think it's deservedly so. Scythe is a lot of fun. It was very hyped up, but I think it actually lived up to the hype. It's ranked number 12 right now. It passed Mage Knight, Star Wars Imperial Assault, War of the Ring, and Blood Rage. So that's a good chunk of games and very good games to pass up. So what do you think about that?
I love everything about it. I can't stop raving about this game. I love this game, and I'm not just happy. It's like when you buy the car that you've been wanting to buy, and it wasn't that I'd been eyeballing this game for a long time. It was like I kind of caught the wind of it right before Gen Con, and then to get it and to have played it several times now, and overall buyer satisfaction is as high as I've ever probably had on a board game. You know what I mean? This is just, I love it, and I love Blood Rage too, though. So we can draw straws or flip a coin or whatever about that, but it's worthy of being right up there with the top games in the world ever. It is so good. And I think the more people play it, you might see it creep up there a little more. You never know. These are crazy people, if they get it in their mind that they love this game, they'll all combine forces and vote things up and down and, whatever. That stuff's neither here nor there, but just to have it acknowledged as being this is how much people think about it. And, that's good for Stonemaier Games, really. I think they take their time putting out quality games, and this is something you can tell they spent a long time developing.
I agree, yeah. I know it's strange that Blood Rage and Scythe are getting compared because they're apples and oranges, but that's kind of the metric. Is Blood Rage was hyped to shit. It came out, everyone loved it. It shot up the ratings, and Scythe was the same way. I remember when the Kickstarter for Scythe came out, everyone was just losing their minds. They're like, "Look at this game! This is amazing! It's a farming with mech game! I can't wait!" And I was like, I wasn't so hyped about it. So for me, it really hit a home run for me because I was not hyped. Everyone else was losing their minds, losing their stacks, and when we sat down, you explained it. It was just one of those games that I was just like, I get it. I totally get it. And I felt bad because you were explaining it and you had to kind of watch everyone. But I was just like, man, this game completely clicks with me. And I think I really, I won the first game. It wasn't by a whole bunch. But when we played that second game, I blew everyone's doors off that second game. I knew what I was doing. I knew what I needed to do. And I cannot wait to play this game more. I want to play it 20 more times.
Yeah, and if we didn't have a full day Saturday, I'd be toting it around. Every time I'll come to your house, I'll tote it around just in case we can get a game in. And even though it's 4-player game is probably going to be about 2 hours, totally worth it. But now we're playing with people who've played, so we don't have to go through the pageantry of the 30-minute explanation. I mean, now it's just find little questions, and the games will go quicker, and that's what I'm looking forward to. And then really getting into the gameplay and the different combinations of characters mixed with the tableaus that show you how you can perform your actions. Like that mixture of the game, and now the expansion will come out, and you'll have up to 7 cards to choose from. I mean, never play a 7-player game.
I would never in 100 years play a 7-player Scythe game at all.
I don't think it's an option. It would be 6 hours or something.
I think it's. I have a question too. They have it as 1 to 5 players. How do you play Scythe 1 players?
There's a deck that's called the automated deck, and it runs the game. Kind of cool, right? Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool. I'm not one for playing games solo. I know Elder Tour's like that. That's my favorite game, and I would never play it by myself. It's just one of those things I would never do. But that's cool that they have that, because there are people that enjoy that. That's really neat. I like that. So, and I'm very excited for the new expansion.
I mean, there's not enough good things to say about it, and I don't even think it's really hit yet, honestly. I mean, people still want to get that game. There's people out there who haven't even played that game yet, and when they do, they're just going to love it. It's gonna explode. So,
yeah, it's definitely getting up there. It has 6,000 ratings right now. Blood Rage has 8,000, so people are definitely voting for it. I mean, just for example, like 11,616 voted for Pandemic Legacy, which is the number 1 game. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's half the number that have voted for, Pandemic, and there's 2,000 less that have voted for Blood Rage, so it's getting up there. To also talk a little bit about Blood Rage, which is, a great game. It's getting to the point for me where I've played it so much that I'm kind of just getting to I like playing with friends who haven't played it because I see how much they enjoy it, but to me it's just like, I've played a lot of Blood Rage. It's getting to that point where, unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be expansions because he's working on all kinds of other games, and they've kind of said there's not going to be expansions. So it's just kind of getting boring to me. I like playing it just because my wife likes playing it. You like playing it. All my friends do because they haven't played it as much. Mm-hmm. But it's really getting to that point where it's a great game. It's just it's almost ran its course with me.
Oh, and I totally understand that because playing it, and I've only played it 3, 4, 5 times, but I love it. It's great. But those last 2 times we played 2 games back to back, and it has the drafting mechanism. And I was looking through the cards. I was like, "There's just not enough cards in this game." Like,
no, they need to release.
You played this game 10 times, and you're like, I haven't, I haven't exhausted every combination, but honestly, there's only a couple real strategies, that they're trying to make you use, whether it's the Loki strategy or the Odin or whatever. All the names better than me, but they need more cards. So
they do. They need to release a card expansion.
Yeah, what does that cost? It costs you hardly anything. And
that would be an easy $20 expansion. They and everyone would buy it.
And everyone would lose their freaking mind. You know what I mean? Add some new miniatures. And just people will go crazy. So, I mean, it's not going to happen, and that sucks. But I think they didn't drop the ball. It's just like that's what it is, and we're not touching it. So, good for them if they stick to their guns on that, I guess. But maybe they'll come back to the well later on.
Yeah, they always have time. That's the greatest thing about board games. Like I always say, you don't have to have a console, a computer. The game is its own console, so they can always come back to it. It's always going to be there. So, all right, moving on. This is a big one for me because I am the complete total target audience for this, and you know this. Mm-hmm. Mechs and Minions by Riot Games. Wow, that's all I can say. My favorite video game, my favorite hobby, combining together to make a League of Legends board game. I have to ask you, I know you've watched me play League a little bit. You don't know anything about the game besides what I've explained.
I get the concept. It's just, I get what you're supposed to do in the game.
Right. What after seeing this game, what did you think? I know there's a little bit of recognition with some of the characters with you, maybe, but when you saw the components in this game, what did you think?
What I initially thought was when you said they're making a League of Legends board game, I thought I actually might be more interested in that than playing League of Legends. A tower defense board game where you got like the 3 lanes, which this is not what that game is though. It's a different game than that.
Correct.
So, but after I've watched you play, I'm just like, it's just too much, man. I don't have a computer. I have a Mac. I don't really play computer games. There's a bajillion characters. It seems a little daunting up front. Simple in nature, like, you get a character, they get stronger as you play, and, you try to win as a team to defeat the other team. Like, it's a pretty simple idea, but it's rather complex when you watch it, and it's like,
yes,
so, yeah, that's pretty much what I thought about it. What was your question on? I'm sure I just missed.
Oh, initially seeing the game, what did you think when you saw the components?
Yeah, the components are sick, and for the price, it seems like you're getting way more than what you're going to be paying for it. So I think that's a good strategy by Riot Games. Honestly, if this is your first board game release, you've been a video game company, you're segueing into a much smaller market and putting something out there for us fairly niche. But I mean, I guess there's probably a lot of board gamers that play League of Legends and know what it is, and they also know what a good game is and a good value. So I see this game and it's like, I don't even play League of Legends, but they're only making so many copies, and it seems like you get a ton of stuff that looks amazing in a box, and the game itself looks pretty fun. So you'd be able to tell me a lot more about it. This is totally your wheelhouse, and you are the mark demographic on this game.
Yes. Yeah, I got to say, just as a board gamer, when I saw how many figures were in that, I could not believe that they said the price was $80 or $75 with $8 shipping. I was like, there's no way. Those have to be the crappiest quality minis. And apparently the minis are fantastic. They've got a wash on them even.
Yeah.
They look great. And the 4 main champions, which are Tristana, Ziggs, Corki, and Heimerdinger, they're all Yordle characters. They're like halfling gnomes kind of looking characters in League of Legends. And they're all painted. Those are painted. There's so many boards in the game. I think there's like 50 minions, man. There was 3 inserts just full of minions. And this whole game is $80. It's unbelievable. And the reason they're able to do that is because they're actually selling it through their store, and that's the only way you can get it. That's how they kept the cost down. And I think that is the smartest thing they have done, because this game would be over $100, 100%. There's no way they would sell it for less than $100 unless they did it themselves, and they have the money to do that, which is fantastic. I'm so happy that they did this. I'm getting this game as soon as 11 o'clock on 10/13 strikes, and we will be playing it that weekend. As soon as I get it, anyways, as it ships.
They cut out the middleman. They have tons of money to play with to take chances. They're dipping their foot in a pool that they know nothing about, but have seemed to have done their research and are putting out what looks like a really good quality product at a great price. And what's the difference? I buy it from Cool Stuff or I go to your website. That's
right.
the absolute only difference. And now when I think about it, it's like, why doesn't Fantasy Flight just say, we don't need a middleman? But, they got their deals and all this stuff. But
yeah.
That's just an example. Any of those companies, why not cut out the middleman? But Riot Games as a company has a name and recognition that it reaches a broader spectrum than if I said Mayfair Games.
Right. Oh yeah. It's a game that's played worldwide. So this game's going to sell out regardless, because they don't even have to reach half a percentage of their total fan base to get this. This game has been reviewed already by a bunch of people, and they said it's great, so board gamers are going to buy it regardless of the League of Legends IP, and League players are going to buy it because it's League of Legends. They love the game. The game's the biggest computer game of all time. It's the most played of all time. So, yeah, I'm marking out, man. I cannot wait to get this game. It's a program movement game where when I was watching people play it, I thought it was so awesome that those champions would walk through and just kill like 5 minions in a row. I was like, whoa, that looks so fun, man. Because the game of League of Legends, you go down a lane, you kill minions to get money, to get experience, and then you kind of level your stuff up. So in that aspect, it's kind of cool where, you are still dealing with minions, but it's definitely not as complex as the computer game for sure. So I'm very, very excited for this game.
Well, I'm happy for you, and I can't wait to play it, and I kind of just want to buy a copy because it seems like...
You would not be wrong in doing that because I agree, it's going to be a collector's item because if you keep it sealed, wait about 5 years, people will be like, I want that game, unless they reprint it, which they very well might. But either way, you'd have a great game in your collection.
Well, if I'm buying it, I'm playing it. I don't really buy stuff to not play with it. I buy Funko toys so I can take them out of the box and play with them. So it's like, my Dalek looks way cooler on my toilet, not in a box, while I take a shit. All right, so I like my Pit Boy to look me right in the eyes when I'm beating it. You feel me?
It.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel you 100%.
I figured you would.
So moving on to our Fantasy Flight fanboyism with our Cthulhu love. This is really cool. They announced the newest Eldritch Horror expansion, the Dreamlands. And that's really cool because I like in Arkham Horror, when you would go through a lot of those gates, they would always talk about basically your character being in the Dreamlands. There was a ton of Dreamland stuff. There's some in Eldritch Horror, but there was a lot of stuff in Arkham that I remember were in the Dreamlands. So I'm very, very excited for this expansion.
This is a Dunwich Horror expansion to Eldritch Horror.
No, Dreamlands.
It's the Dreamlands. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
and this character, one of the new characters, Luke Robinson, he's the Dreamer. He gets to move from gate to gate and encounter gates as if there was no monster on it. So he kind of falls asleep, and then he can warp from gate to gate all around the world just by going to sleep and dreaming.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's really neat. I'm very, very excited for this one.
I know you love Eldritch.
I do.
Do you think they're overexpanding it? Can it be overexpanded?
No, because when you start the game, you draw a few cards, and it tells you how to set the game up. So if you do it randomly, it'll say, pull out the Antarctic board, and you set that up. You don't set up every expansion when you do it.
Well, of course. That'd be ridiculous.
So, with Arkham, you could do that the same way. You actually technically can't do that with Eldritch Horror. You can set the boards up and stuff separately. So they're not overexpanding it. They're just these expansions are basically for the fans who love the game. Arkham Horror became very, very bloated, but they did this properly with Eldritch. You can't use every expansion. It's just not possible.
Okay. Well, I love that they're adding this to it. I always enjoy playing with you. You do a great job of running the game, which I think makes a big difference when somebody has control of it and not making it so much. You know how games can get lost. You always do a good job of keeping the game focused, and that really, it just makes it all run better. It's almost like you're the app.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right.
You're going to be replaced soon, though, my friend. Okay.
Oh, I know. I think there is eventually probably going to be an Eldritch Horror app for sure, and that's fine with me. But yeah, the way we play, I always ask people, hey, I like to kind of be like the narrator of the game, so it keeps us, everyone engaged in the game. But if you want to read the card, go ahead. And everyone's like, no, I like when you read it. It always seems to keep the game going, like you said. It's kind of one of those things where if you let everyone do their own thing, I'm not trying to be mean, but there's some people who just aren't good at reading the card and really conveying what's happening. So it's hard if you're not a Cthulhu fan to read some of the names.
Oh,
you're
sure.
what the fuck is this? So I just kind of take that out of their hands, and I think people enjoy it more when there's just a single narrator. And it's just easier, so people can just play the games instead of dealing with all the rules and shit. So I've played the game so much that I'm the app pretty much. That was a great comparison. So staying in that vein, they've already announced the first expansion to the Arkham Horror LCG card game, the Dunwich Legacy. And I know the Dunwich Horror is your favorite H.P. Lovecraft story, so How much are you interested in the LCG, and what do you think about this expansion as being their first?
How can there already be an expansion? I can't stand this. This is worse than video games, man. Like, can a game breathe for like a week? Like,
No.
oh my gosh. Okay, I love the Dunwich Horror. The story itself is one of my favorite H.P. Lovecraft stories. So I'm going to be interested in any game that has some kind of iteration of it and implements it somehow. So, like, I'm in. I want to play it. I'm excited to try it. But, geez, oh, Pete, I can't even play the base game and I already got to get the expansions. Like, I don't like that. I don't like that in a video game either. I don't like when I pay $60 for a game and then I pay for the season pass and then they get me somewhere else, you know, or like Street Fighter. It's like, I pay all this money to get a system, and then the game, and the controller, and all these things, and then it's like, oh, we gotta get you for 30 more bucks for these characters. And at that point, I was like, why? Why can't I just get it all? One flat fee. Just, what is it? $500?
Just give it to me.
Just $500 up front to play some Street Fighter? Is that what we're doing here? So, I don't like when games do that, but obviously Fantasy Flight's not the only guilty party, but they are pretty notorious about doing that. And it's like, well, crap, why didn't you just give us that in one box to start? You got your base, and because you bought it up front, you get the Dunwich, or, you know, so I don't know. But
it's a double-edged sword, man, because, you know, you got this where the game's not even out yet, and they've already announced their first expansion. I think a lot of the times they're just trying to keep the game hype, gauge interest for the game. But it's you're right. It's hard when the game's not even out yet. You're interested in it, and they've already announced, an expansion. It's rough. They did that with Mansions of Madness too. It's like the base game came out, and then like a week later, they're like, oh, 2 expansions are out that are like $35 a piece, and you're like, oh my god, this game's $100 MSRP. Can't I just play it first before I get into this stuff? I don't even know all the base game shit, so I'm not gonna buy the expansion yet. And then on the other side of the token, you got Hasbro, who released that Magic the Gathering game, and they took forever to release expansions, and I think that game, they killed it because there's no extra content. There was so much stuff in the base game, but it was very, very basic. But then they didn't stay on the ball and didn't release anything for that game. So yeah. I've lost all interest in that game, and I haven't heard anybody talking about wanting to even play that game anymore.
I gave my copy away at Fight Night.
Yeah. So
I thought it was a good prize, and it was to somebody who doesn't really play games, or like kind of plays games. So it's like, here's a cool game for you, and it has a bunch of minis and stuff. So to him, and also, but yeah, I guess because they had distribution that other people would just, you would love to have the kind of distribution. Target, there's a Target like in every freaking 30, 50 miles, there's a Target somewhere, so like you can get that copy of that or the expansion to it everywhere, so
I feel like they should have blew that game out. They should have blew that game out and just should have been releasing expansion after expansion after expansion, even if they were small ones that were like $5 or $10 that were just like one character or one planeswalker. They should have been just blowing that game out, but they didn't. They really, really dropped the ball with that game, I feel. Because remember, it was last year we were at Gen Con, and everyone was like, why aren't they releasing this at Gen Con? I actually had to go to Kmart to buy this because they released it in stores. You could go to Kmart or Walmart and get it, but we couldn't even get it at Gen Con because they didn't release it there.
Yeah, Hasbro doesn't have a very good presence at Gen Con.
Yeah. All right, so you and I had been talking about Halloween coming up, and we had a really cool idea. We wanted to actually have a Halloween-themed game night where we play stuff like Mansions of Madness, Eldritch Horror. We really set the mood we dim the lights, get some candles, and this is a cool idea. This was a great idea, and I don't know how it's going to go over, but I think it's going to be really cool. We can get a bunch of candy, decorations, and really just have a really fun night.
Well, that's the plan, and we just got to coordinate what day, because I got a couple. We'll figure it out. I do have one Halloween party that I want to go to, so I don't want to do that night, but I could do the night before or the following weekend. Like, I'm trying to leave it kind of open for this. So, to prepare, we got to get a bunch of candles, but I also I pre-ordered a copy of Last Friday, so fingers crossed it somehow arrives by the time we want to do this. So Last Friday's the Friday the 13th hack and slash. Got to run from the Jason-like character, Jason Voorhees-like character in the game. So I want to get it, have enough time to read the rules and watch a video so we can play it. And I know very little about it, so I think it's like a hidden movement game. I'm pretty sure. So
it is.
So I've already played like Letters from Whitechapel, so I mean I know how that mechanic works and stuff. So maybe that might help. I have no idea. It's probably its own game, I'm sure, but I want to play this with you guys, and I would love to have a night where we're playing Last Friday, maybe that new Mansions of Madness, Eldritch, something like that, and just keep it fun and spooky and have some spooky music on in the background. Right. Drink some pumpkin beer maybe, or I'm not really
Oktoberfest.
Yeah, drink some Oktoberfest, and really just, hang out, of course, and play some games. We need to play some games. So we got some.
I just really like that when you have board game nights, it's fun to just play games with each other, but it's really something special when you set the mood like that. We do that a lot with Eldritch. We play some 1920s music or just some spooky music sometimes, but I think this is going to go over very, very well. I've got some really cool ideas with decorations and stuff, but I think everyone will really like this, and if we can get a good group of maybe like just 10 people, you and I can run a couple different games where maybe we can have some beginners playing some maybe some easier games, and then another table where we're playing some more hardcore stuff. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good time.
It's going to be amazing. So we just really need to nail down a date, and probably the later we go in the month, the better, because the likelihood of me getting this game anytime soon is probably not happening. So that's why I ordered it from Cool Stuff, and I didn't order any other things with it, so that it wouldn't tie anything up. So I'm looking to maybe get a copy of Cry Havoc. I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested. We got a lot of games to play though, so it's it's on the list. It's on the list. It would be something I'd like to review, but we can get to it whenever.
Good deal. So speaking of spooky and terror, we're gonna go ahead and move on to our review of Pandemic: Reign of Cthulhu. I've yet to play this game. Matt has played it, so I'm gonna go ahead and let him take the reins and let you know how the game is.
Do you want me to tell you about the evil?
I do.
Do you want me to tell you about the horror that I've witnessed?
Horrors?
Horror.
Horror. Please, do.
Can I tell you about an ancient evil that slumbers under the towns of Arkham, Dunwich, Kingsport, and Innsmouth?
I don't know if I can handle this.
Everything you've ever known or loved teeters on the brink of destruction. Cultists who worship the old ones run amok in the streets. Evil manifests itself and scuttles from gate to gate. And insanity calls out to you. Welcome home. Pandemic: Reign of Cthulhu from Z-Man Games. 2 to 4 players. Plays in 45 minutes or less. It really is not a reskin of Pandemic, and I would assume that most people have played it, but I'll give you a fair rundown of what the game is. It's not a reskin. I feel that it actually expands on it, makes it its own game, and when you're playing it, the only thing that's Pandemic about it is that you're just familiar with some of the mechanics of the game. It plays very quickly, just like Pandemic. You can lose. This game is tough. You can lose in a very short amount of time. The game sets up, and when you look at it, you're looking down at the towns, Arkham, Dunwich, Kingsport, and Innsmouth. So you're able to see it. All the little towns are connected, and there's not as many spots on the board as like in regular Pandemic. There's a little more space on the board, so you never have the overcrowding that exists if you have the first copy of Pandemic, not the second edition that they put out. But when you set it up, it's very much the same. You're going to flip cards, and those cards are going to tell you where to put cultists. And cultists are like the diseases that would land on the boards in different parts of the boards and eventually outbreak. But one thing that you add is you add a Shoggoth. And a Shoggoth is kind of more like a boss character that moves around from gate to gate. And there can be more than one Shoggoth on the board. And they're harder to get rid of. They take more actions to get rid of than a regular cultist. The game is tough. You can lose by when either there's no more cultists or Shoggoths in the box, if you at any point reveal Cthulhu, or if all the players in the game go insane, you lose the game. And the only way to win the game is by closing all the gates. Very much like in Pandemic, you win the game when you cure all the diseases. So kind of just a rough overview of what the game is like. You're going to get clue cards. And those clue cards are going to be like your the cures that you're going to need in this game. I mean, I'm trying to relate it to Pandemic, but make it its own. So you need 5 clues to close a gate, 5 matching clues. So if I want to close the Dunwich gate, I need 5 Dunwich cards. All right. The good thing about this game is when you move, if I'm on a bus depot and I'm in Dunwich, I can use a Dunwich card, and I can go to another bus depot anywhere on the board. The movement's not as restrictive as in regular Pandemic. So basically, you'll get those kinds of cards on your turn, and just like in regular Pandemic, you can trade cards as an action. You can move as an action. You can get rid of cultists for an action. And you get 4 actions on your turn. And, I mean, they tried to really, I think, keep things super similar, but also give it just a little bit of difference. So, one thing that's different is there are spots on the board. Obviously, there's the bus depot. There's other just regular spots that are like the market or the bank or the swamp. But you also have gates, and that's where the Shoggoths spawn. And also, you can enter the gate and try to get a relic card. If I defeat a Shoggoth, I'll get a relic card. And those ancient relic cards give you something special. However, in the process, though, and this is something they've added to the game, you're going to roll a sanity die. And you could lose 1 sanity, 2 sanity. You could place cultists immediately on your spot, or you might get through scot-free. In this game, it's very easy to go insane if you're running around trying to get rid of the Shoggoths, because if too many Shoggoths are on the board, that's a problem. So that's something I think they added that was really interesting and made it different. The relic cards make it different. The insanity dice make it different. And also the characters, you have your kind of stock Pandemic characters, like the medic is the hunter in Reign of Cthulhu, and you're able to get rid of cultists quicker than other characters. Or you have a character who can move a little further, or you have a character who can share things much easier than someone else, share cards. But one thing that they added is an occultist, and an occultist can move the cultists around the board, can make them move further away, so to keep them from overrunning an area. And so they tried to add some new characters with different types of movement or different types of actions that they can complete. And they really added something else when they added the old ones, the famous gods that we all know and fear, and they exist at the top of the board. And you'll do certain things, and you'll so when you're going through the deck and pulling the locations, when you're getting clue cards, you'll eventually run into a card that says, I have it written down here. Evil Stir. And an Evil Stir is like in Pandemic, like every so many times you get a card, what does it say? Outbreak or something like that?
Right.
Infection or something like that. It's just like that. So it's in your deck of draw cards, and it helps the pace of the game. So as you're drawing more clue cards, you're eventually going to run into an Evil Stir, and it's going to make you flip over one of the old ones, and that old one's going to have something specific that happens to the game. It could be a lasting effect. It could be an immediate effect. And you'll flip, like every time you run into an Evil Stir, you're going to flip over an old one, and it affects the game as it changes and goes on. So it's like you put 2 cultists out at the beginning of the game whenever you flip over a location during that phase. Well, the more old ones you flip over, then it becomes 3 cultists. Then it becomes, you know what I mean? Then you're just like,
right.
Your board starts to get overrun. Well, there's 8 at the top of the board. If you get to the 8th one, that's Cthulhu, you lose. And so that's kind of their effect, and I really like that because that's all random. So there's more than you put out. So you're going to get different iterations of a game almost every time. This game has great replay value. If you like Pandemic and its mechanics, and if you like the Cthulhu mythos, this is your wheelhouse and it is a must-have, and you're going to love this game. I think you're really going to love this game. So I hope I gave you a pretty good rundown of what the game's like, the little differences in it. And honestly, Roger read the rule book, and then we together, I was like, well, in Pandemic, this kind of happens, and almost every time that aligned with what you do in this game. Almost every time. So if you know how to play Pandemic, you're going to read through that rule book in like 5 minutes, and then you're going to be ready to play a game, and that's awesome. From the time you buy the game to the time you sit down to the table, you're going to be able to play a game real quick, and that is what's awesome about it. And, any thoughts on my little review there?
No, that was a nice review. I'm looking at the game right now. The components look pretty awesome. The board itself looks fantastic. Does it look better in person? I mean, I don't have the best picture here, but they have like Arkham, Innsmouth, Kingsport, and Dunwich on it, and it's little. They have like little bridges that go from like Innsmouth to Arkham, and the buildings are on there, and it looks very 1920ish. It looks great. It probably looks better in person, but what did you think personally of the components?
I loved the way the board looks. Whoever did the art really captured that feeling. They used I don't know how they did that light source for it, but they used this amazing light source so you can tell that the lighting is candle light or lantern. So the light that illuminates out from the little buildings, because it's kind of a nighttime setting, the game itself.
Right.
You just get that vibe, and it's creepy, and it's beautiful. And yeah, the little miniature characters look great. The little cultists are tiny. Like, you could do a wash. I mean, if you wanted to spend some time and they're very small pieces. The Shoguns look cool. And the cards, I had mixed feelings on the artwork of the cards, but overall, it blew out, like, Pandemic's artwork. Pandemic's artwork is trash compared to this game. Like, seriously trash.
Right. It's very, very basic, which serves the game fine, but...
So components-wise, it's amazing. I'm telling you, the board is... you know how I mark out over the artwork and stuff on...
Yeah.
I was like, immediately, I was like, oh, I love the way that this looks. They did a great job. And you play so many Fantasy Flight games, they reuse that same artwork in almost every one of those games, and it drives me mad. So, like, I get tired of seeing the same pictures for, like, 5 different games that they use that are in, like, Arkham, Eldritch, whatever. They've used that same artwork now for 10, 15 years, and I like that this is a different company with different artists, different take, and they knocked it out of the park. And I'm not, in no way, shape, or form, I'm like, this replaces Pandemic, but what I'm saying is it's just it's its own game with Pandemic mechanics, and it's a fun 45 minutes, super hard game. And so, like, me and Roger played a 2-player game. I was the hunter, meaning I could get rid of cultists, like 3 cultists on one spot for 1 action. That would normally be 3 actions.
Right, the medic then.
The medic. And
is she the girl with the gun?
Yeah.
Miniature?
Like
okay, cool.
Yeah, like a little 38 snub nose.
Nice.
And Roger was the detective who could close gates for 4 instead of 5. So I was like, if we're going to play a 2-player game, and I said I wanted to play 2 characters each, because then we might have a chance. He's like, well, let's try it with 2. Okay, let's just try it with 2. If we're playing with 2, these are the 2 that we got to play with. You know what I mean? Like,
did you guys win?
No. No, we did not. I closed a gate on my second turn. No, Roger closed the gate on his second turn. And then I closed the gate on, like, the 4th turn. And then it snowballed very quickly. And, like, old ones started getting flipped over. And they really mess up the game. They really mess up either like lasting effects, like no matter what it's 1 extra to close a gate. So even for Roger, it was now 5 to close a gate. So like that. Tough. So 6 for a normal character, 6 to close a gate. That's one of the normal old ones that can get flipped over. That could be your first one you flip over. You know,
man.
So I mean, it is like it is not a game you're going to beat up. I promise you. And I was like, dude, we gotta be thinking this turn ahead and the next turn ahead, and like, you know, we gotta really, you know, we gotta think this game through if we're gonna try to beat it with 2 people. And like, you know, by the time he read through the rulebook, set up, we were done in like 40 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, it was
good,
and you know, it got out of control, and we couldn't control it, and we lost the game, and Cthulhu got flipped over, and the world was devoured.
It seems like they did a really good job of making it its own game instead of just reskinning it, you know, and just putting, you know, a weak-ass Cthulhu theme on it. It seems like it's really its own game. It seems very, very fun. I can't wait to play this. I'm just getting lucky lately because this is in my wheelhouse. I love Cthulhu, love Pandemic, so I think this is a must-buy for me, especially after, you know, what you've told me previously and today. So I think this is right up my alley. I'm definitely getting this one.
I'm telling you, you're going to love this game. That's it. Plain and simple. Either you buy it or I buy it. Somebody buys it and we're going to play it, and you're going to be like, oh my god, it's so good. The Pandemic mechanics apply great to this game, and then just the little extra things. The insanity dice, the being able to get the ancient relics. They had like a little boss character that runs around the board that you have to fight that takes more actions to kill, and you have to roll an insanity die. And then you have the old one effect that it messes up the game. And just like when I think it's called infection, right? When an infection happens, you shuffle all those cards.
An epidemic,
and then you have to shuffle those cards back and put them at the draw pile, and you're going to redraw all those same cards, and that's when stuff starts getting out of control. And so it's a lot of those same mechanics that just brutalize you in Pandemic, brutalize you in Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu, and I can't wait to play it again.
I have a quick question. Do you feel like you have to like the Cthulhu mythos to really like this game, or can someone who just likes Pandemic enjoy this?
I think of all and I'm just flying off the seat of my pants with this statement, but this one requires the least amount of knowledge of Cthulhu to play of any of those games.
Okay.
Sometimes those other games you're so lost because you don't know the Dunwich Horror, you don't know Narthel Tethep or the Innsmouth Look or any of those things, so you don't get the references, you don't get the flavor. It flies so far over your head. This game doesn't have any of that. It's simple. Run around and kill cult guys. Like, if you want to break it down, simple. These guys worship these evil alien gods that are trying to infiltrate our planet. They worship them. They're bad. You kill them, and then you kill monster, and you try to keep these bigger monsters from coming out. And you're like, oh, cool, so we just run around and kill monsters? Yes.
Good stuff, man. Good. Well, it seems like this was a hit. I can't wait to play. So, all right, moving on to our final segment, the Quick Five.
Quick Five. Quick Five.
Quick Five. Games that got you into the hobby. So I'm going to go ahead and let you start off. This was I like this one a lot. I think this is going to be really interesting because I think we are going to have maybe one that is the same because we already talked about it. But I think it's really going to differ here. So I'm going to go ahead and let you start out.
Well, I put it by like the games that I played that I was like, oh, I want to play that again. And so that's how I'm interpreting it. Is that okay? Like, because like playing Talisman, I don't know if it got me into it, you know. But I will say that Settlers of Catan got me into playing hobby games. So my first game on the Quick Five is the Settlers of Catan, and it's that game. I think it's that gateway drug game. If you can get someone, if you have a family game night and they're playing Risk or Clue or Monopoly, it's not that far a stretch to slap down the Settlers, and regular kinds of people, they'll get it, they'll like it, they'll want to play it again, And because of that, you can get them to play other games where you can up the ante and add a little more and a little more and a little more. And those are the kinds of games that got me into where I'm at now with hobby gaming. So my first quick 5 is the Settlers of Catan.
Okay, Settlers of Catan is definitely on my list too. So I'm going to go ahead and make it my number 5 also. This game is definitely one of those games that is grandfathered in as essentially, I don't mean this as a negative, but it's the monopoly of hobby board games. It's probably one of the most popular games that if you say this, someone who isn't technically into the hobby board game hobby will know what Settlers of Catan is. So this game has transcended the hobby and is out there to the masses. I loved this game when I initially played it. I loved it the first 20 times, but then once I played the 50th time, the game's no longer fun to me, but it is still near and dear to my heart. I have a Settlers of Catan 3D Special Edition that I won at Gen Con, and yeah, Settlers of Catan is my number 5, or Catan, as like the plebes like me like to, or the correct people. That's a correct pronunciation, I believe, is Catan, right? I always say Catan, and I don't think that's right at all. My number 4.
We also know a guy who won the world championships at Gen Con and went to Germany. So like we're just deep in the Settlers of Catan.
Yes. Yeah, that was a really cool thing. We had a guy in our gaming group who won the U.S. championship at Gen Con and got to go to Germany, and he had the time of his life. So very, very cool game. I respect it for that. Sure.
You should name drop. We should name drop so people don't think we're
Andrew
liars.
Tomalski was probably 10 years ago the U.S. champion who got to go to Germany. He said he got whipped in Germany, though. So.
Well, hey, at least we knew him, all right? So
correct. My number 4 is probably an interesting one. This is when I was really young, but the game of Mousetrap.
I remember thinking this game was the coolest game on the planet. The components were out of control. It was a giant Rube Goldberg game where I don't even remember how to play it. I think you pretty much rolled and moved your mouse around, and then when you got to the end, you got to trigger the whole trap. But that, to me, 8-year-old, 7-year-old self, was the coolest game on the planet. Mousetrap.
that is out of left field, man. Wow. Okay. Well, I don't have a Mousetrap kind of game. I'm going to stick to the list that I had. So number 4 is the most Euro-heavy game on my list, and that would be, and you're probably going to be like, that's not a Euro, Power Grid.
Definitely a Euro.
Okay, all right. So I'm right. I'm in the right wheelhouse here. You know, Power Grid, a resource management game where you buy and supply power to different cities on a board. And it is a game that I've probably played 20 times, and I don't hardly ever play it anymore, but at the time was a game that hit the table a lot. I used that game to get other people to play games, because if I could get you to understand how to play Power Grid, I can get you to understand how to play something better than Power Grid. And for those people who I like points, I like winning, you know, like those types of people, because
yes,
I like to play cooperative games. I've played a lot of these head-to-head points games, and yeah, there's a lot of those games, so I want to play other ones. But if someone's all like, I don't really like cooperative games, I want to win, all right, let's throw down some Power Grid, let's play. So it's been a long time since it's hit my table, but I'll never get rid of it out of my collection, because it means a lot more than just it in my collection. It represents a time in my life when I only had like 3 or 4 board games, and one of those games was Power Grid.
That's a great game. It's so dry, and time has kind of passed Power Grid by. But you know what? Every time I've popped it on the table, everyone's enjoyed it. I actually played it with my mom and stepdad, and she liked it so much. She asked about a month later. She goes, "Did you bring that sewer game with us?" She thought it was sewer instead of power lines. It was about sewers, sewer grid.
Well, you got rid of. Remember, you had trash can. You got trash cans.
Yeah.
So.
She thought it was a sewer game.
I'm sure you were like, this here. I got to power up this piece of shit. You know?
This toilet. Good. That's a good number 4. All right. What's your number 3?
Well, number 3 is Dominion from Rio Grande Games. I liked Dominion because it clicked so quickly. It's so simple, and it was a game that you just had a base set, and initially you only had like 1 or 2 expansions. Now it's a game that's been expanded a bajillion times. It's also a game that I've played so much that it's just like I have to like mix all these different sets to get any enjoyment out of the game, and that becomes a hassle. And it's like, what we've talked about. It's just, some games you reach an exhaustion level, and Dominion's one of those games where I'm exhausted with it now. But back then, I loved it because it had similar mechanics to Magic the Gathering. So it was super easy to pick up, and it was also a good game. If I wanted to teach someone Magic, I could just as easily teach them Dominion, and it might make them understand Magic a little easier. It's not that far a stretch, and it's a much better game. So it's like it's a really good game for novice. Like most of my games on my list are for novice because that's who I was, and that's how I got into games, and I enjoyed playing these games. So Dominion was definitely on the table a lot, and I mean we were playing 2-3 times a week. People were at my apartment playing, so we played a lot of Dominion, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Dominion's a great game. It's the original deck builder that pretty much spawned all these other deck builders that are out today. I'm like you. I've played so much Dominion that it's tough to come back to. But man, what a fantastic game! I remember you taught it to a couple of your buddies who aren't really big into the hobby, but they loved it so much they played with us. And yeah, it's such an easy game to teach. It's an easy concept. The artwork's not the greatest, but it's serviceable. There's no theme in it pretty much. But, man, what a fantastic game. I love Dominion. Great game. Nice pick. My number 3 is one of probably the oldest games ever, or not ever, but one of the older games in the world is chess. I remember being taught chess and just thought that it was such a difficult game to play that no one knows how to ever remember how each of these pieces move. There's no way anybody can keep track of this. But once you actually play the game a couple times and then you start to realize that there's so much strategy to it and you have to keep an eye on every single piece. I know you've played some chess, and you, just like me, I'm a complete novice. I'm terrible at chess, but I love playing. I'll bring that queen out, and I promise 2 turns later I'll lose it because I lose track of where it's at on the board. But, man, chess is the game that really got me into competitive games. It really bolstered my love of board gaming because it led to so many other games like Magic the Gathering, things like that. Chess is a game I learned as a very young man and continued to play today. I'm still terrible at it, but I love losing at that game. Chess.
I enjoy playing chess, even now on the computer from time to time. And I wouldn't say I probably play just a few games a year, honestly. But as a younger man, I played a lot of chess. And, I mean, we played a lot of games as kids. We just didn't play these types of hobby games. We played the games we've already talked about, but like those kinds of classic games. And chess was one of those games that I'd play with my mom. And I also took a chess class in junior high. And
I think I was in your class.
You might have been in there. Class. Peanut was in there.
Yeah, I was in that for sure.
Okay, and Peanut was just running roughshod through class.
Oh, he was wrecking people. Yes.
Yeah. So that's really what I remember about it. But yeah, chess, great choice.
Thank you. My number 2 is this is gonna be a weird one, but I got to put it in there because I have so many just fond memories of it. It's Hero Quest. I've never actually played Hero Quest, but my friend Dustin had it, and I always wanted to play Hero Quest. If you ever saw the components to Hero Quest, you would just lose your mind. You're like, there's a treasure chest in here. There's minis. There's a dwarf guy, a barbarian, a rogue, and a mage. Oh, there's a map. You got to go from room to room and find this stuff. There's doors. There's cardboard doors. This is awesome. This is the coolest game ever. Never played it. But it is definitely a game that once I started going to Gen Con, I saw that there were games like that, and I got into, games that were similar, had components like that. There were fantasy. I know it's a strange pick, but I have fond memories of I would go to Dustin's house, I would pull this game out, attempt to read the rules, Never did it because no one ever wanted to play it, but I would just set the guys up, play with them just by myself while he was playing computer, and just think about how awesome it would be to actually play the game. So I'm sorry that it's a sad story, but man, the cover's awesome. There's a guy who's in a loincloth with a sword just swinging away, and he's just shredded, man. Yeah. I love that, dude. The art is awesome on the front of that. It's the coolest thing in the world. It looked like one of the coolest games. It may be the greatest game in the world. I've never played it, so I can't actually tell you.
I remember this advertisement. Oh my god. This game looks so good. Why didn't we ever get to play this game?
Because Dustin is the answer. Our friend Dustin is the answer. He never wanted to play it. So yeah, Hero's Quest. That's my number 2, and I know it's a funny one, but I just had to put it on there.
Wow. That's crazy. The game looks amazing.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it look good? We should get this game and play it. I'm going to go to his house, steal it, and we will set it up and play it.
Oh, he still has this game?
I'm sure he does.
At his mom's house?
Yep.
Hey, what's her name?
Ruthie.
Hey, Ruthie. You got the Hero Quest laying around?
Sure don't. Oh.
Just flips you off. Oh, it's right here. All right.
Here's your treasure chest.
All right, my number 2 game is Pandemic. And we've talked a lot about Pandemic today, so we might as well just title this the Pandemic episode. Playing Pandemic for the first time was like, besides playing Dungeons and Dragons maybe a handful of times, was the first time I'd played like a cooperative game like that. Where, oh, what do you mean we're not playing against each other? I'm like, no. We're gonna. Who are we playing against? We're playing against the board, and that idea to me was like, what do you mean? Like, how does that work? And I mean, it's this is like that mindset shift from there on to like, oh my gosh, I like playing team type games. It's fun to work together because then you all get to bask in the glory at the end. Yeah, there's tons of games where you can get points or kill each other, but it's also fun to try to, we all win together or we all lose together. And guess what? Most of the time you're going to lose. Like, I love a challenge, and this game it's held true to time when people are like, oh, you're going to lose like 60, 70% of the time. Like, yeah.
That's the fun.
I've played this game a lot, and I've got it even to a point where you're like, all right, 1 or 2 turns. Nope.
Yeah,
it's like that. So that's what I love about it. We've talked a lot about Pandemic, so not to beat a dead horse, but number 2, Pandemic.
That's a great pick. That's one of my favorite games of all time. And yeah, I remember this one time we were playing with my brother, and him and I were playing 2 characters apiece. And we didn't get 2 full turns around, and the game beat us. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. He was kind of shell-shocked. He's like, we lost? I was like, yeah, man, we lost. We had the worst disease outbreak of all time, man. We didn't even get 6 turns. So, Pandemic, what a great pick. So, all right, man, down to number 1. What is your number 1?
Number 1 with a bullet, Magic the Gathering. I saw my first Magic cards in like 93 or 94, and from that moment on it was like, this is taboo. We live in religious bumfuck middle of Indiana, and people think anything with the name Magic is the devil's, which is going to make me even like it even more, Right. The only sad thing about Magic is that I was an adult when it came out. Like, I didn't have any money. So if I had money, it'd be a different world. I'd be King Dingling in the Magic world. But I didn't have any money then, and it's too expensive to play now. So it's a game, though, that initially, the stuff was so simple on the cards, very simple mechanics, And like I said, though, because if you know how to play Magic, you're going to understand how to play a bunch of games. You're gonna be able to sit down and read cards and understand that, like, a little arrow means to turn your card, or like, oh, this is what upkeep is. This is what cost is. Like, if you can understand those couple little concepts, you're going to understand how to play a whole bunch of games, and that game alone opens up so many avenues. And just, the artwork, at times was super crappy, but it was also, like, super, dragons and warriors and, the Royal Assassin and just, this is early 90s stuff, you know what I mean? And I was a kid, and I remember just drawing pictures from Magic cards in art class all the time, just different crappy, the cards weren't worth 2 cents, but the pictures were awesome, like that kind of stuff. So Magic the Gathering, my number one game. It was a game that got me into all the games. Otherwise, I'd still be playing like Sorry or Don't Wake Daddy.
Yeah.
Crossfire.
That's what we should be playing right now, is Crossfire. Yeah, Magic the Gathering is, to me personally, the greatest game of all time. That and chess. I think chess and Magic the Gathering are two of the greatest games to have ever been created. And you're right, the art from back in the day when the game first came out is just so endearing. It looks not atrocious, but it doesn't look great, but it's just... endearing is the best word I can think of. Like the card Stasis looks like trash. It's like a wolf guy with a triangle and something else, a Tin Man, and you're just like, this looks so good together. This looks great. I love this card. I love Millstone. It's just a stone circle. It looks great. I love Jester's Cap. It's a guy with just wearing a Jester's Cap. It looks like a crappy clown. Everything was so good. The Icy Manipulator. I love the art on that card. The old Icy Manipulator. Just such the art really added so much to it, and they've come so far since then. The artwork now is just absolutely astonishing. It's top notch. They get the best artists. They put top quality stuff on their cards. They don't put junk on their cards anymore. But they've lost a little bit of that. I think Magic, or for me personally, I really like those crappy looking cards back in the day. If they released like a foil Royal Assassin that had the old art, people would eat that stuff up because it looks so cool, even though it's not the best of art. But yeah, Magic the Gathering is definitely on my list, but I'm not putting it on there just because you know how I feel about that. And, if people keep listening to it, they know that I love Magic the Gathering. So I just like to mix it up and keep everyone guessing. So my number one is, you kind of already spoke about it, is Dungeons and Dragons. This game is one of the games that really got me going into the hobby because it was one of those games that was kind of taboo, like you said. It was like, whoa, people who play Dungeons and Dragons worship Satan, and, people have had rituals and they've killed themselves playing this stuff, which is probably none of it vaguely true or has no bearing on anything. But I remember the first time I played Dungeons & Dragons, it was at my friend Dustin's house. His girlfriend DM'd, and I didn't know what to expect at all. But when we started going through it, I just immersed myself. I could really see the dungeons in my head, the way she was explaining it. And I love the co-op and the teamwork that it took to defeat these monsters, and just being extra careful going through the dungeons so that we didn't get wiped out. It's one of the most fun games, and it's one of those games that you can play with your children or your friends, and you can really have something special happen. I ran my own group for a long time, and they loved it. I had three out of the 5 people were new players, and they were people that you wouldn't expect that would ever in your entire life play Dungeons and Dragons. They were just not the group that would play. I talked them into it, and that's all we talked about was for half a year was Dungeons and Dragons. They're like, when are we getting together and playing again? We called it book club because we wanted to keep it secret. We're like, when are we having book club when we were in public? Because we didn't want people to know we were playing Dungeons and Dragons together. So whenever we were in public, we're like, hey, when's book club? So Dungeons and Dragons, I have so many fond memories. It's kind of crappy that you and I only played a handful of times of D&D together. We didn't probably have the best of experiences together, but I think now if we got a game together, we would have a great group. We would have such a fun time. and it's just a story. You love telling stories. You like playing those types of games, and you can run the game any way you want. You don't even have to have miniatures if you don't want. You can just play completely without them. That's the first time I played, we didn't even use miniatures and stuff like they do today. So we just we had our sheets, we had our paper, we had our dice. That's all we did, and we used our minds to really play the game. And I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. So Dungeons and Dragons is my number one.
I thought about it. I mean, we're 80s babies, and that stuff hit hard. 70s babies probably actually got to enjoy it a lot more. I mean, it's obviously very popular now, but it was the new thing. It was exciting. It was taboo. People didn't understand it.
Right.
And that is exciting, and I'm sure it created probably the biggest chunk of gamers that make up the hobby gamer demographic. Like, most people were led there by Dungeons and Dragons. I've only played a couple times in my life, and one of those times was with Heather, and it was a lot of fun, but it was super new to me, and I really was kind of lost throughout some of it. You know what I mean? So, like,
yes,
there's some of that to the first time I played, and now they're on a different version of it, and I'm sure learning that would take some time, but I would play. Sorry, I'm yawning. I would play, but it's there's a lot of really good miniatures games, and there's a lot of, there's Descent, so
yes.
It's like, if I was gonna spend the time to do it, we gotta go through Descent first.
Right.
It's like, I gotta go through Descent first, and then we can play some D&D, because then it would be because that's what I'm thinking. I like if we're doing a dungeon crawl, then I need to play Descent. So, but once we move beyond that, then I'm free, So
yeah.
I totally agree, and the artwork, I mean, remember all that artwork was moved over to the Spellfire cards that we didn't talk about, a quick 5 game, but Spellfire's honorable mention, and it used all that TSR artwork early on, and it was kind of cool, because
it was great.
Spellfire was the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons card game. So,
yep.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of D&D artwork in my days, and some of it's pretty rad, and some of it's kind of meh. But the game itself, flat out amazing, and probably, like I've said, it's monumental. Its presence, its existence means it's the genesis. It's like
the hobby. You're right.
It's the genesis, So
yes,
yeah, very apropos. Number one with a bang.
Yep. You just can't beat getting engulfed by a gelatinous cube, man. It just can't be beat. So, hey, man, I've had a great time. We've been going on almost 2 hours. We tried to get a quick one in tonight, but it never happens. But, hey, it was a lot of fun.
It was amazing. So, I look forward to planning our Halloween endeavor, and, we'll be doing Pandemic Legacy. So, obviously, the next time we get back, we're going to have some new stuff to talk about. So, we'll fill everyone in when that time comes.
Yep. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care.